She's probably napping right now.
Truth be known.
I'd call you the Utility Board work session for July 11th, 2023 to order. Can I get a roll call, Mr. Petty?
Yes, we got Board Member Tony Abbott absent. We got Board Member Justin Oppert.
Yes, sir.
Board Member Tommy Roulette.
Present.
Board Member Lenny Fryman.
Here.
We got Board Member Brett Mondurant absent. And we got President Kelly Milan.
Here.
Utility Director Billy Kennett.
Here.
And myself.
Okay, Mr. Kennett, I think got a couple of items to discuss. I'll let you take it and go in order however you want.
Okay. Just to kind of go back to the last work session, that meeting did not go as I had planned. And there were some comments and some things that caught me off guard and I wasn't prepared for. My idea coming into that work session was, do we bond or do we not bond? That was the question, because everything in this scope of work, and I have the capital budgets up on the screen. All of these things we've talked about for the last 2 years. We've agreed on the scope of work. I think it caught you by surprise because the prices went up. But these are projects that, and I guess what bothered me in the last work session is people are still looking at me saying, is this a want or a need? And I don't know how more clearly I can tell you that this is not just a need, it's something we gotta do, and especially the sewer project. Sewer project's my biggest concern, and I don't know that you all fully grasp the nature of the problem and the severity of the problem. So I have prepared some stuff to talk about this a little bit more, just so we can maybe get on the same page with that. So it just caught me off guard that, with the electric project, we're in the engineering phase. Actually, design drawings are done and submittals, and the comment was made, we shouldn't be spending the money to do this project. And I just, some things caught me off guard. Not that, work sessions for us to talk through things and to talk about things, but I thought this is stuff that was all agreed upon, stuff that we've worked on for the last 2 years. So, I'm happy to entertain any questions. The pricings went up, and I think that's what caught you all off guard, for that. So I think the two big things are the electric garage remodel and the sewer. I think the electric garage remodel will probably be the simplest discussion we can have. I just wanted to know, do you have any further questions regarding that project and moving forward with it and what the need is? So does anybody on the board, Mayor, do you have any questions?
Is that the electrical project you're talking about? When you said whatever we had discussed, when you said there was one electrical project and a sewer project, is that what?
I'm sorry, Justin, I'm having.
Is that the electrical project that you were saying that we had discussed? Talking about the.
Yeah, it's the remodel
Remodel,
project.
okay,
Yeah,
got
for the offices and all that.
I know it wasn't clear to me in the last meeting that we came into that, hey, are we bonding this or not? These are all done deals. We've discussed those. So, I mean, if the more communication that we can get, the better.
Yeah.
I can't speak for everyone else, but I was not aware that that was your intent in the last meeting
Okay.
at all. So I thought I was happy to be here having some discussion regarding some of these projects.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
can further educate us so we can be aware.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and so I apologize for catching you off guard with that, so let me take a step back. Here's where the rubber's meeting the road with this. We're in the middle of the rate study, and we're at the point now where we have to figure out whether we're going to bond these projects or if we're going to cash flow them. And so that's the nature of this. And so when I brought the capital plan to you, I think I opened up with that of, you know, we got to figure out, do we want to bond this and do it more aggressive, or do we want to cash flow it?
I think, I don't know, that was, you explained that pretty clearly at the beginning of the meeting last time, I think.
Yeah.
I think Justin may had some questions on the electric
Garage.
garage. That you had brought up some.
Oh, yeah, and it's
Question.
just so that we could be educated on,
Yeah.
you know, what we're doing. I mean, that's, yeah.
I've been a part of that with Billy from the beginning, and we've gone back and forth with the engineers and things to value engineer it, things like that, to get it more of, okay, what the needs are versus any wants, and I think they've pared that down. I think you're happy with the final project as designed, or
Right.
as presented. But I think they need to hear more, maybe more about it or something.
Yeah, there's nothing luxurious about it.
Oh, I think, I feel like you articulated it clearly to us at the last meeting. I was satisfied with
Okay, all right.
on that. I mean, I don't know, obviously I can't speak for everyone else, but I mean, that's the discussion that's helpful to have. just
So
okay.
we're clear, we're moving forward that project, right? Now, actually, since, you know, I bumped the budget up from 600 to 900,000, Maxwell just came back at 1.1 to 1.25, you know. That's just the nature of the beast. That's what's going on in the world today. And I didn't increase the budget because I'm hoping that once they put it out for bids, it'll come back in at you know, the 900,000. We wanted to clear demolish the meter department building, but they wanted 250,000 for that, and I didn't even get a chance to nix that. Kelly nixed that before I could nix that, so that just
I
doesn't.
thought you would have agreed on that.
Yeah,
Bill,
absolutely.
help me understand, what is your, you say you feel like that when they come back on the project, it might come back to that 900,000 range. What gives you that inclination that price is gonna drop?
So anytime you put together a preliminary budget, you always build contingencies in there, so, you know, I'm hoping that, but who knows, it might come in at the 1.25. But the need is definitely there. You know, I kind of felt like in the last work session, you're still looking at me as to say, is this a want or a need? You know, I thought we were way past that, you know. We've looked at all kinds of options and tried different things, and you know, the thing about that is, you know, these guys are sitting on picnic tables in the heat of the day, and you know, you think, well, what's the big deal about that? But they wear fire retardant clothing, you know, and that stuff's hot. It's heavy and it's hot, but it's there to protect them from arc flashes. And you know, when they go there to have coffee in the morning, have lunch in the afternoon, you know, it's not a comfortable situation this time of year. Now in the winter, it's not so bad because that place is heated, but they've been kicked around, just to be quite frank about it. You know, when whoever it was decided to do the fiber, their offices were in the data center, and they got kicked out with promise that they was going to get a nice office, and they moved over to the meter shop, and it was deemed, what was the wording on that, Eric?
Not habitable.
Not inhabitable.
And what was the reason for that to be
Air
not
quality
happening?
test, the mold testing, and something else they believe from the sewer contamination tanks.
Yes,
What
in
was
the
that
back,
gas?
in the back, which something could be done with those tanks. I said that for years. All them were sludge holding tanks.
Yeah.
It wasn't
It
like it
does
was
stink
piped
in there.
into the earth.
It does.
Yeah.
So, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
They covered them up, listen, they covered them up with wood or whatever, and water's probably secreting down past around that seal, and it's down in that tank that we decanted sludge in, and it's probably making a smell. Or someone would have drilled holes in it, the rainwater would have drained out.
So that's,
I'm just saying, I know the place, I worked there. I know what that tank was. I know what
Can we
that
fill it
building.
full of sand? Are we using that tank at all?
Tanks, it's plural.
There's multiple tanks in that building.
There's two. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and I get what you're saying. That really, that is not a very good fit for
Right.
Bathrooms and offices, I mean,
So
I mean-
it was so bad, they just put picnic tables in, and so they ended up in the electric garage. And there's more to the
I hear-
story, and
yeah.
I'm happy to have Eric tell the story if you'd like to hear it. But, when I came in and seen the situation, and really what expedited that whole thing is when Bryson said, this is a data center. I'm not supposed to have people come, he's looking to lease.
Yep, I get it.
And we just can't, and our locker room's in that basement. So that's the need for this thing. It's not a want for sure. And we gotta do something. We looked at all different kinds of options.
Correct.
So I just wanna put that behind us and say, we're, as far as I'm concerned, we're moving forward with that project. And
One thing I want to point out that I was not aware of in your email that you sent us, not one time was ever brought to Tom Roulette's attention that we could look at the special crimes unit building for your guys.
yeah,
Because I'm not in favor of that place anyway. And if I known that, then I could have worked with you guys. I never knew that. That's not a bad fit, but we're past that now because we went through all this engineering and everything.
right,
So let's move forward. I get what you're saying.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions on that?
No, no.
Okay.
But
So,
I'll reiterate too, man, I was not aware that you wanted to bond some of these projects. I didn't know that until you said that when we were in that utility board meeting the other day.
yeah.
For the rates. I did not know you wanted to bond things.
So and this kind of leads into the sewer discussion because, and this is what happened to have that. Kelly and I meet, and Garrett and Eric, and we go through this capital plan. And I think through this process, we keep saying on the sewer on Ludlow Hill, we're in trouble. And
We've been in trouble for a while.
yeah,
Yeah,
long time.
I see.
And people keep communicating that, but we're not doing anything about it.
Mhm.
And so Kelly says, what do you mean by that? How serious is it? Kelly, it's very serious. Well, what if we would bond this? I said, we can't do anything because we don't have the cash. We're trying to cash flow this thing.
When it was
We just don't
2.2,
have
we
the
may have
cash.
had the money,
Right.
when it was first brought to our
We still
attention.
didn't have the money at 2.2. And so Kelly said, go back and tell me what it would look like, what you'd want to do to fix the problems if we bond these projects. And so that's what you're seeing. Now, poor communication on my part. I did not talk to you about those conversations that we had with Kelly. And for some reason, I just thought, we're coming in here and the decision is, this is the scope of work. The decision is to bond or not bond, So the discussion that we should have around that is, if we bond it, we can fix things quickly. And when I say quickly, it'll take 2 to 3 years to fix all this stuff. If we don't bond it, it's gonna be more like 10 or 15 years to fix this stuff. And the severity of this is, it needs to be fixed now. It's been put off, it's been put off, it's been put off. We've known there's a problem for a lot of years, Andy Lyons is not one to step up on a table and jump up and down and scream, but he's been barking for a lot of years saying, there's a severe problem here, we need to address this. And when I came in, and Andy's telling me it has fallen on deaf ears and past misread, I can't speak for that. All I can say is, when I came in, I challenged Andy and said, what's your number one problem? Water, sewer, what's your number one problem? And he said, that line from the hospital out past Pribble. That's the first problem. The second problem is the lift stations. Those are the two big things. And sure enough, that's the moneymaker. The third thing was the water on US 50.
The sewer line from the hospital out past Preble or the water line?
Sewer.
Sewer line.
It's a 10-inch that they had
Right.
relined.
Yeah.
It's in,
So, and I did apologize. I kept calling her an 8-inch. I had in my mind it was an 8-inch because it's a 10-inch that got lined. So it's probably about a 9-inch.
And that's the clay and it's lined.
Yeah.
Yes.
When was it lined?
2008,
8, 7 or 8, yeah.
So, and is that some of the scope readings that you had sent? The pictures, are those from?
Those pictures were of the line of the camera that we had work done prior to getting the line for us to see what was there, why we needed the line.
Okay, so now it's lined though.
Yes.
So is there any indication of any, the I&I now in that line as well, or?
Yeah, the problem with that line up there is the I&I, which we know it's there,
Hey,
you know,
here-
it has to be
here.
addressed, but.
Here, is there any way you can go over and sit by that microphone just in case?
Sure.
Yes, we can
We
get
want to
this.
hear what.
It's, that's the first time I've ever been told I was quiet.
Tell your wife at home.
Yeah, no doubt. Tell my wife. All right. So without a doubt, there's a lot of I&I still up on the hill with even after lining that 10-inch. The problem with the I&I is everybody's lateral is clay also. Not everybody's, but 90% of them. Everything that was built back in the 60s and whatever, that was they used the clay tile. Not only that, but when construction happened and built back then, they didn't really care. They tied in a lot of downspouts, and people's sump pumps are tied into us. All right. So, and like I said, there has to be something done to get that off of us because we're paying to treat that rainwater, you know, and it's extensive. But that's going to be a project. That's a major undertaking. That's going to take a long time in order to do it. Plus, the people's laterals, who's responsible to line them? I mean, it's per our ordinance, we're only responsible for the main. But or the citizens, when you tell them, you know, hey, you got to line your lateral because it's got infiltration, you know, they're going to tell you, you know, pound salt. When I flush, everything goes away. You know, we don't have any backups. So that's going to be tough. Even going in to tell them to dye test their
Downspouts.
the downspouts or the dye, you know, so we'll usually smoke the downspouts, but if you dye test the sump pumps, and once you find out that's on us, how do you get them off of it? You know, but you say, hey, you got to get it off there. Well, they're, you know, being a homeowner, they're going to say, this was like this when I bought it, or, you know, hey, I had this house built and you guys inspected it and everybody said it was good, so we're not going to fool with it. So I mean, and trust me, these are conversations we've had with the public, so we know that this is what happens. So with the 10-inch, I'm pretty good, or pretty confident that the line is in decent shape now, as far as, because that liner that we put in there is a plastic pipe inside a pipe to keep it from collapsing. Now there's a lot of them around that still need that done, and for that reason, because of those cracks and stuff that you saw. The big problem with it is now is, like the other day we were up there, Tommy and I looked, Billy and I went up and looked. The flow that's on it right now, without any rain or whatever, it's about half to three, you know, it ain't quite 3/4. It's a little over half full at times with nothing else on it, without just flowing right now without the lift stations kicking on. All right, so when the lift stations kick on, now we're adding more flow, so it's going to raise up. And you can see in the bottom of some of the manholes where there's a line around the manhole itself, which is above the bench, that flow gets to pretty regular. So it's coming outside the pipe in the manhole and going around the bench. So it's not big enough. There have just been too many houses added to it, and all the lift stations, and, you know, and all the, I mean, because we go all the way out to the Y now, or just short of the Y, to Horizon Way, and all them houses, eventually the county's going to demand that all the houses that are out there now that aren't on our sewer have to go to our sewer. And when that happens, I mean, we're going to get a bunch of houses right away, and then that's just going to put more on us and more on us, and so on. So it's a vicious cycle. The lift stations that we have now, they're in disarray. They've been band-aided. We've got jumpers in them. We've got all kind of stuff trying to save money because.
But why was that? Why did we put Band-Aids on them and not fix them right?
In hopes of we were going to consolidate. We didn't want to spend the big money to have them fixed correctly, in hopes that, because we've been trying to get this consolidation project for a while.
Well, let me ask you though, have we ever had a engineering firm look at it before, or was it just a brainstorm of our internal people?
I can't tell you that.
Yeah, I don't know if it was engineered prior to.
Okay. okay? Because here's my take on this one. And Billy and I have had a lot of discussions about this. And we talked about, okay, these high dollar projects, you know, we may have to look at bonding them or whatever. One thing that I think that we need to do before we move forward with this is, I think we need to have an engineering firm study it. When you're spending $4 to $5 million on anything, let's have the professionals look at it before we go forward. Okay, we wouldn't do it, we don't do any projects that caliber in the city without, you know, you gotta have them engineered out. I know it's an expense. I get tired of paying for those too, but I think if you're spending that kind of money, we ought to have it engineered out and then let them tell us the best way to do it. It may come back that it's the same way that you or Andy or whoever has thought about it, but there might be a better way.
I think maybe more than a full scope of engineering is just getting that second opinion from them, because you have 10 years of observation, you know, that you have the data in front of you, but
Yeah.
and you can give that to the engineers, and it might be a quick conclusion that they come to and say, you guys are right on par for where we need to go.
Right. And like I said,
Well, you still have to have it designed, engineering.
right. Well, I mean, we've had to design. I mean, we're in the design phase of it.
So
Right.
the lift station consolidation project, we've discussed this, we've debated it, and we're moving forward. You know, the engineering's been approved. We have the engineers here. We've done the preliminary study, and I apologize, I should have introduced you guys. I'll do that here in a minute. But, you know, these guys have started the engineering of that project, and the only reason we
On the
haven't.
design of it,
Yeah.
but has anyone looked at the problems that you're having, and is this the best way to solve that problem? That's what I'm asking.
Right.
Before we go in, I'm not saying it isn't. I think
Right.
we may end up just right back where it is and everything, but what I'm saying is, you got a problem. We know we have a problem. But what is the best route to fix that problem? They haven't looked at that piece. They're looking at the engineering, the design of what we think the fix is. But I think if we're spending that kind of money, we really need to have a professional set of eyes on it to say, hey, you need to do this. It may be exactly what we're doing.
Well, I would be surprised if Andy hadn't had that in the past.
I don't.
To come up with this plan. I mean, this is a pretty
I think that
elaborate.
Andy's a pretty elaborate guy.
I mean, I know he's a smart guy. I mean,
He's a very detailed guy.
yeah.
So
Right.
here's, so I've went back through and looked at the files. There was a study done, Olin had it done when he was looking to expand out to 148 in Guilford.
Yeah.
And
I remember that one.
This was a part of that study. Now,
Well, let me-
it wasn't a big part of it, but it was a part
And
of
I
it.
think Structure Point did that.
Yeah, they did.
And Cindy Fort was a part of that. And I caught Cindy Fort off to the side. And she says, there is a cheaper way to do this. We can keep bringing his name up, whatever. Olin was running it down this other route. I don't know if it was this route.
No, he was going down Wilson.
I know, but he was running the project the way he wanted the project to go. And she made the comment that there is a better, cheaper option. I don't know if it was this particular project.
Yeah.
Because you said this was part of that project or something.
Yeah.
So it could have been something, some other piece.
The main focus of that engineering study was how to get the flow from Guilford and State Route 148 into our collection system.
Yeah, because they were looking at expanding out to the Y, down 148, and then bringing in a subdivision off Wilson Creek and a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
At that time, I think. I'm just saying, I don't disagree that we have a problem. You guys have identified that.
Yeah.
We've seen it, right? I'm just saying that you're talking about a half, or $5 million project
Right.
that we really should, I think, have a firm look at the problem and say, hey, you guys, you're right, this is what we need to do. Take it this way, this route, you know, the consolidation piece, run the line down this way, whatever. I don't think we've done that piece of it. And I
Right.
think we should before we just jump into the project. That's the only thing I'm asking.
Right.
I don't think it's saying that we don't need the project. I think everybody in here probably realizes we need a fix.
We gotta fix it.
We gotta fix it.
Well, I mean,
I just don't know.
What we're doing is not right. You know, we shouldn't be doing what we're doing. I mean, but we can't help it. We're in that situation right now.
Right.
Yeah, you're in a
We-
no-win, I
We
mean,
can't back it up into people's houses.
no.
So I went back through the insurance claims, and each claim is $27,000.
Oh, yeah, no.
You know,
That
and-
proves we got a problem.
yeah, if we wouldn't be flowing, discharging, we would be backing up into probably 500 to 1,000 houses. You know, one incident could cost us $2 to $3 million. You know,
Right.
that's how bad it is. It's a very serious situation. And, you know, and this goes back to, I felt like you guys were looking at me saying, is this a want or a need? It's not a need. It's daggone, you know, it's got to be done.
Yeah.
And like now, yeah, what concerns me is each time that we have a discharge, we have to fill out that IDEM report.
Yep.
And if IDEM comes down on us, we're in trouble. I mean,
Mhm.
it's $26,000 a day that the penalty is associated with this. And quite frankly, it's not fair to the landowners where we're discharging, you know, we're talking a ton of discharge, you know.
No, I
And-
think everybody know, I think we all realize there's a problem.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that I think a project of this magnitude should be looked at by a company that says, you know what, hey, this is the route I would go to fix it.
yeah.
Or I would take this route.
So with that, let me introduce these guys. Actually, if you guys will introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the board. I'm Billy. My name is Jeffrey Meyer with Butler, Fairman, and Seifert. I'm joined here today with Mark Shimlewski, and we also have Ian, who's a high school student who is shadowing us for a week or two to learn about engineering and utilities. So we've been working with Billy for about a year and a half now on both the US 50 water main project predominantly, and we are at a preliminary stage of the Ludlow Hill sewer consolidation project. I'd just like to say I do agree with everything that's been said here. I think identifying the problem and being specific with it, evaluating all our alternatives is a good approach to take, and to make sure that the proposed solution matches up to the specifically identified problem. We know that the 10-inch is likely undersized and over capacity. We know that there's problems with the lift stations, but to what end and to how much infiltration we have coming through that area, what can be done in a short-term basis to maybe reduce some of that I&I, as well as maybe some more of the longer-term solutions, which I agree with your estimate that the quickest the consolidation project could probably happen would be, at least probably a year and a half, 2 years, an accelerated schedule. So there could be other things that could be done in the near short term at a much less cost that could potentially benefit the system.
Yeah, thank you for that. Off a different topic, Billy, and I haven't heard, but where do we stand with the rate study as of today?
So that's a great point, Mayor. So we just had a meeting last Friday with Crone and Associates, and we talked about, we haven't given them our capital plan yet because we don't know what that will look like. They're at the point where within the next 2 weeks, they need to know our capital plan, what we plan on doing. So, and Tommy's on that committee, and he can kind of speak to this as well. We had the conversation of, so they had in the, I believe it was in the sewer, $3 million and the conversation was to bond or cash flow. The initial thing we told them was, we're gonna bond this. And so they have it built in their financial models for us to bond it. But we had, so I said, well, you know, brought it in front of the board was not too keen about bonding projects, so we may cash flow this. And so they talked about the scenarios of especially the amount of money that we're looking at here. And they said, you're going to have a really hard time cash flowing these projects. You know, it is much better for the ratepayer to bond this and pay it over a 30-year period. It's much less intrusive on the ratepayers to bond it versus cash flow. So, Tommy, you were there.
Unless we find that golden goose, you know, where all the money's at, that's about all we can. You know,
Well-
someone give the utilities X amount of millions of dollars.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Hey,
But so.
Bond bank, I don't know, you know, what do we?
MDF fund? Is that-
Are they close to having a first draft after they get our capital?
Yes.
Because that's where we're gonna find out, okay, here's what the increase would be if we do X.
Right.
Here's what the increase is gonna be due if we do Y.
Yeah.
So we should have 2 or 3 options that are gonna be
Correct.
presented, I would assume.
Yeah. So alls they're looking for from us now is our preliminary plan.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I came in here with the mindset, you know, and sometimes I go 100 mile an hour and I just get ahead of myself, but I was already there, you know, are we bonding this or are we not? That was in my mind the last work session, so that we can give that to Cronin Associates so they can build their model. So we talked about that, and they're about a month out to coming in and presenting to you all.
Okay.
And it'll be a work session where they pull the computers up and do exactly what you said of looking into all of that.
Because I think in our last meeting, we were talking about X number of dollars to go in and, I think, repair the lift stations. Weren't we talking?
We got all kinds of different scenarios.
Well,
yeah.
we were talking about the $3 million that we had received from
Correct.
Fiverr. And I think the idea, not a plan, but not a decision, we were talking about, okay, it was gonna take 1 point something to fix the lift stations. Was it,
I think it was more.
It was
Am I
the
recalling
water
that?
project. It was the water project.
was that the water project?
Yes, it was the
Serving
US
out?
50
Okay.
water line,
Okay,
is what it was, yes.
okay. But what
Yeah.
where I'm going with this is this. I think that Crohn's gonna come back with us with these options, based upon whatever the numbers you give him on the, okay, we're thinking about bonding this, but we may cash flow this, you know, whatever the case may be. That'll be, and during that first session with them, it'll be our time to ask the questions, what if we did this instead of doing this? Then they'll have to go back and adjust, whatever.
And they're really good about doing that on the fly. When we
Yeah,
were sitting
yeah.
there, they
Yeah.
can build those models very quickly.
We had
Formula and-
This is how it would look if you wanted to do this. And, you know, that's, we'd mentioned to them that, you know, what if we was to cash flow some of this and, you know, they can run. So the key right now is where the rubber meets the road is we gotta make some decisions.
Yep. Yep.
That's the pressure that I'm feeling right now because,
But they're hypothetical decisions, because those decisions that we make, you can go to them and say, hey, we want one of your models to say that we're gonna bond out $4.5 million.
Right.
We want another model to show us that, okay, it looks like we can put $2.5 million in cash to it, we're gonna bond $2 million. You know, I think, I understand what they're asking you for, because I've been down that road with other stuff, but what I'm saying though is those are hypothetical options and that we can change based upon, okay, where do we want the rates to go?
yeah.
based, right? Am I,
But
I
we're
hope
gonna
I'm saying
have
that
to make
right.
some decisions here
Mhm.
soon. You know, our goal is to have the rate study done by the end of September. So we've got to make some decisions. And that's not, so let's say it comes out that we bond $5 million for sewer. And then we decide some grants come in or something like that. You know, at least that rate will have that built into it. That's the key right now, is to make sure that our rates going forward have enough money to cover any type of project debt, you know, that we.
Well, and quite honestly, and Billy, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but going forward, we should be really doing a rate evaluation, maybe not a full rate study, but a rate evaluation every 3 to 5 years. I think that's something we have not done.
Right.
And I think we wouldn't be in a predicament, a lot of this predicament, not with this particular project, but
Right.
with rates, if we would have stayed up with that and it wasn't always subsidized.
Right.
So, but I understand what you're asking for. You're,
I got a question real quick. You know, Billy, you sent that email, you gave this engineering. Is this the engineering quote to do the study to see what would be best for that project?
Yeah.
Was this right here?
Jeff, you want to talk to that?
I mean, is this the proposal basically saying, hey, we're gonna go up there, we're gonna investigate, we're gonna figure out, we're gonna do the engineering, figure out what the best proposal is? And my question to that, and like I said, I was there last Friday with the rate study and part of that, and it is one of those things where, you know, it's like, what Billy's saying, it's like, all right, board, are you willing to bond?
Yep.
If you're not willing to bond, then all of a sudden, you know, this whole rate study is gonna be totally different than something else. So I think that's what Billy's getting at. It's like, hey, we gotta make some decisions as far as what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do. And of course, if this is the engineering thing, we're gonna engineering, and all of a sudden it's gonna take another 3 or 4 months, I'm not sure where this rate study is even valid. You know, we're gonna have to push it back some, is what I'm thinking. I don't know, Billy, am I wrong on that, or?
No, that's exactly right.
but the rate study is not something, I mean, if it gets pushed back 3 or 4 months,
Yeah.
that's not a killer. Am I right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't kill us. I mean,
No.
it wouldn't be ideal.
But I
It's not
think-
ideal.
But for the
But
rate
if-
study to be done correctly, I think that we need to include this, and it may have to be pushed back 3 months. That's where I'm kind of.
And I guess time will decide that, but I'd like to hear what he has to say.
Sure. I believe you're looking at the Ludlow Hill sewer capacity evaluation proposed agreement that Billy asked us to put together, and you are correct. This would be the proposed agreement to do the evaluation of the Ludlow Hill sewer area in general, north of the hospital, of the 15-inch pipe of the subject 10-inch that was lined. And the objective of the study report would be to answer four fundamental questions. The first one would be, what is the capacity of the now lined 10-inch pipe as it goes down Bilby Road with the general slopes? Estimating the flow of the current service area based off of the number of houses and the potential future out from Scenic Drive as the houses eventually transition over from septics to the low-pressure force main. Third, it would be to evaluate the performance of the lift stations. We know they have a lot of Band-Aids. They're in not great condition, but to actually go out there and physically do what we call a pump down test and to see what flow rates they are able to achieve would help give us and you, the service board, an idea of how much those are contributing to the problem at the junction where we see surcharging and backing up in houses. And fourth would be to better understand the extent of the I&I into the sewer system, the inflow and infiltration. I think that is a large problem of the capacity issues that are taking place as evidenced by the events occurring during wet weather. You mentioned in your narrative, Billy, of the age of these pipes and the clay pipes. You guys have already been down this road with the 10-inch again, and it's coming home to roost with the other pipes kind of reaching the end of their service life, and the cracks are never going to get smaller. The water is just going to keep on coming in, and whether it eventually is consolidated or not, I think it would be my recommendation, Butler, Fairman, Seifert's recommendation, that close evaluation be paid to the infiltration, as that would benefit the whole system.
And that's the consensus we came to in the last meeting.
Because that's one question I'd have as you as an engineer. We can build this consolidated lift station, but if we don't do something with I&I, it's really not going to fix the problem. My thing would be, now that we've consolidated, and I wish Mr. Kavanaugh was in here so he could hear this, we consolidate these lift stations. We're going to be at one lift station that now will pump to lift station 13, correct, under the bridge? Is that how it's going to get to the plant?
Yep.
What happens there if we overload that line now because we got all that I&I and all that flow coming from one lift station going through that pipe to that lift station that then goes to the plant? I mean, you know what I mean? If I'm wrong in asking that, someone tell me, because we're fixing a problem with the lift stations, but not the I&I. And this is, in my opinion, when Billy told me 2.1 or 2, I walked out the door and I said $5 million project, and guess what? I wasn't far off. 4.5.
No, you're off.
But anyway, if you're following along with me, we still got the I&I problem, guys. So we're gonna have to fix that too,
Well, is that something, though, in your
right?
study?
Am I wrong here, or am I missing something? Because,
No, I think that's what he's saying is
I get
fourth
that.
point.
yeah,
I mean,
Right.
that would be, you would evaluate the I&I issue.
Correct.
And you're, out of this study, you would come up with, okay, here's some short-term fixes, possibly, to buy us some time to get this project done, whatever that project looks like.
Correct.
Am I saying that?
You are saying that correct, and the way we would evaluate that fourth issue, the I&I, would be through a flow monitoring study. That's where you put sensors in a manhole in the pipe, and this measures a couple data points. It measures the flow, temperature is another one, but why this is useful is twofold. One, you hope you have you look at the data, you look at a rainfall event that happens in the middle of the night where ordinarily the sewers wouldn't be full, and you could kind of see, oh, we're getting a lot more cooler water coming through the main. That would be indicative of that is consistent with I&I. And the other aspect of that flow monitoring study is it allows us to better determine what's called a peaking factor. So we know on average how much a neighborhood would flush or a house, and this is a relatively simple system shed where it's all residential, but it allows us to dial in those peak demands hydraulically. And of the fee, about half of that was for the flow monitoring study. And the flow monitoring study in the proposed agreement consisted of 3 locations for a total of 90 days, which would allow a good data set to evaluate. So in terms of the schedule for what you guys are also considering, that would put the whole study report in the range of 4 to 5 months if that flow monitoring study was enacted at that timeline, the 90 days.
Well, I got a question too. I mean, I'm looking farther on down the road. What you guys, from listening to what you're talking, you want to fix the problem we've got with the people now. But what happens if somebody goes up there and they put in 2 or 3 houses, 200 or 300 houses
He
up
addressed
there?
that. He addressed that.
That it'll take care of it?
You said part of the study would be, okay, what would the impact be to additional, bring it on, or what would we need to do in order to bring on additional past scenic drive?
Correct.
Those that are getting off of septic and onto
Yeah.
low pressure.
The study would show, this is the capacity of the pipe, this is how much flow demand you have now, this is what's left over. This would be an equivalent number of houses.
Mark Shemaluski from BFS. Kind of following on your track about future expansion or additional services that are added, right now you need to be able to pass that peak flow that includes the I&I. That doesn't mean that, if the initial project is lift stations and conveyance, that I&I is still there. We still have to convey it. We have to worry about where we're kicking that ball down the road, down to the bottom of the hill. So we have to look at that. But as you move forward and address the initial problem of the overflows or the lack of capacity, we would recommend you still have a program to eliminate I&I.
Yep.
And as you eliminate that I&I, guess what? You've just gained back capacity for future development. So you're not,
Okay.
so some people think, hey, if I don't fix I&I now, or if I do fix I&I now, I can make everything smaller. You don't want to make it smaller. You need to take what's coming, and then we'll convert that into future capacity. So that's kind of one way to think of it. There's a short game and a long game, and you need to play both. Circling back on the rate study, my understanding is you're doing a rate study to understand what a capital project could do to rates. You're not actually on the verge of doing a rate ordinance where you're trying to pass a rate increase.
Oh, yes.
Yes, we are.
But immediately following the rate study, or is there's some amount of time that, you need to do the hearings?
We don't have, the plan was to initiate a rate increase in 2024.
Okay,
Because Billy's been doing his best to manage the water and sewer, actually. Electric's fine, but water and sewer,
Sure.
Any cash flow because of maybe where we have months that it's not really paying for itself. If I'm saying that right.
right, you have to get whole before you can think about even getting ahead.
We're upside down each
Right.
month on our cash flow, so that's the reason we have not been aggressive on the consolidation project, because we're just hoarding money right now. We don't have, thank goodness we have good cash reserves, but we're upside down every month, so every month we're tapping into those reserves, and there's a point of no return, and we've done a great job of not getting there as quickly as we
Sure.
normally would, so.
And in that rate study, my belief or my understanding of rate studies is usually, and it was kind of brought up earlier, the rate consultant, and we're not financial advisors, let's make sure of that. You give them a number, hey, I want this project, and they'll come up with scenarios, but they don't really need to know what the project is.
No.
You absolutely need to know what the project is at the rate ordinance, right? We're bonding for this purpose. So that's why I brought that up. There's a little extra time, that 4 months might, back to what you mentioned, Mayor, was, is it going to kill you to wait a little bit? It's just a little bit more in the sequence of events.
Well, my take is, yeah, it may be pushed, say, 4 months if we go through with doing this study. But we're gonna have answers to, okay, is this the best way forward? Or is there another option forward? But here's our short-term fixes to get us time to get to either option one or option two, whatever those options are.
And the other thing.
We're not trying to push the project off. I think we understand we got a problem, we gotta fix it, but I think we need to understand if there's more than one option to fix it.
Well, in the meantime, aggressively pursue fixing the I&I.
So, couple things about that. Fixing the I&I, we talked about the lining, and this capital plan increased that lining significantly. The main reason why we're doing that lining project is those pipes are over 50 years old. So the I&I is a byproduct of that, but that's not the reason why that's not the sole reason why we want to line those pipes, because, and I'll show you a video here in a minute. Garrett has the video of when they went through that 10-inch pipe before they lined it. So you can see, and that was in 2008, so you can see the condition that pipe was in. If it's in that condition, everything else up there in that area is in that condition. So that, the main reason why we have the lining project is to put a new pipe inside an existing clay pipe before it compresses, and then you can't do it. Then you have to dig it up and replace it, and it's 2 to 3 times more expensive to dig it up and replace it versus the lining. So the I&I is a byproduct of that. So when you line that, you're going to help that I&I. We'll show you in the video of the cracks and all the water. You can see the water come in on some of the video. But that's not the main reason for doing that lining project. The lining project is to fix 50-year-old pipes.
Add life to them,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
But-
It's putting a new pipe in is what that
Right,
is.
right.
So there's
It's
probably,
not-
I know the process.
probably a different project for fixing, or mitigating the I&I.
Right, that's a much longer, it's harder to do, the I&I, especially if it's all laterals that are not your,
Yeah.
You're gonna,
not your
yeah,
control.
I mean,
How
that's
do you
not an
make a
option.
person
I
replace
mean, it really
that? I mean, and there's a lot of ways to do it,
It's- I mean, it's-
but they're not very pleasant ways to do it. So like if you put a moratorium on when a person sells their house, you can't,
Fighting with them, it's gonna take.
it's almost like a lien until they disconnect their sump pumps. That can't be decided today or tomorrow. I mean, that's a political
Yeah.
quagmire that you have to work through, but there's ways to do it. On the, jumping back to the overall project cost, potentially, and again, it may not be desirable, but is there a phased approach that could get you through the hurdle of getting you not to have overflows or lack of capacity? You're still gonna have a lot of I&I and it's still a lot of
Wouldn't
maintenance.
this study bring that out?
I think we could probably say, hey, if you have to slice it, here's the main slice. Here's the meat of the sandwich. Everything's needed in a future end game, but if you had to pick, can you do part of it without all of it? I'm not sure of that yet, if it's worth doing. But again, those are the things that we would try to help you.
So one of the
see.
things that we have to fix, and, you know, I'm not opposed to doing a study, I'm just telling you what we have to fix is we've got to stop doing discharge. I mean,
Yep.
we can't keep doing that. That's not the right way to do business.
If you don't stop it, IDEM will stop.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Stop
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's no fun at all.
Well-
Right now, you have control over your destiny. You don't want someone telling you how to spend your money. That's
Right.
not in this room. So,
Well, and I'll be honest, if we can go to IDEM, we can be proactive with this, if you'd like, and I'd be happy to go with you. I mean, we got a really good relationship with IDEM. And we can go up and tell them, here's our project. We know we got some issues here. Here's our project. We're working on this, and we're bringing this to you, being proactive, because we don't want to have to be reactive when they come and they, here you go.
Yeah.
But I mean, we can do that once we identify the project that we're gonna, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, and.
We just need some time, Mr. Idem, you
Yeah,
know.
they have a program for that, and
Okay.
they said they are very forgiving for people that do that.
Oh,
It's a non-compliance program.
operator
Tell on
assistance.
yourself.
Yeah, say-
The operator assistance program, I think. Maybe that's on the wastewater side, but then there's a collection arm that also,
Yeah,
So you tell on yourself.
yeah,
the,
they are
They
more
like that?
favorable to someone like that versus us continuing to do the reports and.
We can go up and talk to them.
the caution there
Might be a good thing to do anyway.
is, yeah, we're gonna help you, but here's how we want you to go about it. And they may suggest or encourage you to participate in state revolving funds as a funding source, and I'm not sure if that's something the city has ever wanted to do, but
That's not what we want to do.
But just as a warning, IDEM would say, hey, you could do it a little bit faster than you think you can if you went this route, so.
Well, yeah, we're familiar with the.
Sure.
state revolving fund, but-
We're using that right now, the wastewater.
Yeah, but,
A lot of hoops to jump through, but,
well,
Yeah,
there's a lot of hoops to jump through for that, or if you do a bond, either
Mhm,
one.
right.
It's whatever, but I think what we need to we need to decide, is if, okay, I got a couple other questions about this
Oh, sure,
study. So this study, at the end of this study, would there be an engineered cost estimate to option 1 or option 2 or to short-term option 1? Will there be an engineered estimate to that?
Yes, I envision there will be solution alternatives with, a preliminary engineer's estimate with the dollar amount of what it would
Okay.
take to implement,
Okay,
to the best of our ability at the.
absolutely.
yeah, but-
We're familiar with that, but that way, this group has a better idea of, okay, the estimate to do option 1 is this, option 2 is this. You guys are going to tell us the pros and cons, but really, we need to spend this now to get some short-term relief, whether it's quit discharging or
Tell
whatever.
us, you're gonna go with this one or this one.
Uh,
You know what I mean?
Personally, I like the idea of doing the study. I know it's, everybody, you know, it's money, but I'm not so sure in the long run it might not save us money. That's my 2 cents. This is your meeting.
Yeah,
And I,
I'm okay with that.
Are you?
Yeah.
I don't wanna,
My main concern is we gotta stop the discharge.
Yeah.
And we gotta stop it soon, because it's not fair what we're doing to people, you know, at all.
and if this is, that's something you guys could look at initially to say what's a short-term fix to do that, maybe that's something that we then can make a decision on and as we go through this, the rest of that process.
I mean, essentially, we need a 2-year fix anyway for that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we can
it's
have
not a
at the-
short-term fix. It's-
No, I'm
Right.
saying until if we do the full consolidation project, we still need a 2 to 3 year,
Yeah.
some remedy.
It's really
Stop the discharging.
Yeah, but there,
a matrix of some solutions take long and they're expensive, some are quick, but, you know, it's a matrix of decisions for you guys to consider proposed alternative solutions.
I don't have your study in front of me. What's the not to exceed price?
57,000 hourly, not to exceed.
So that includes the flow monitor,
And that, about half of that is the flow monitoring study.
which is by a third party.
No markup, just pass through, yeah.
So 57,000, a not to exceed number of 57,000.
Correct.
To do the study, and you'll come back to us with options or what you feel and what is the best option in your opinion, and then short-term fixes, and especially for discharging.
Correct, yeah.
You guys have questions about that? How do everybody else feel about that? I mean, Billy, we feel your pain. We hear your pain. We can see the pain,
yeah.
you know, but I mean.
I just want to make sure of
I-
that, because
I would
this
just
is a
feel-
serious
Yeah.
murder.
Personally, I would feel better spending that kind of money if we had a professional opinion.
Okay.
That it may be very well what we already know, but
I'm not crazy. Well, I mean, you guys, we're talking all this stuff, but short-term fix, long-term fix, it's gotta be fixed, so why don't we just do it right the first time instead of trying to do it 2 or 3 times? I mean, whatever the engineer says, instead of trying to solve a problem, if it don't rain, we ain't got no problem, right? Pretty
yeah,
much.
we do, we still have problem if it doesn't rain.
Just hope it
We
don't
still-
rain.
I mean, our lift
Well, we've got
stations,
problems, but
right, our lift stations need rebuilt regardless.
well,
I mean, they're
gonna do
they're junk.
They're gonna do an analysis of the
Understand
the
that.
situation,
Right.
which I think they have a really good idea what it is. And then they're gonna come back and say, here's 2 ways you can solve your problem, okay? But here is a way we can help with the problem short-term, to get us out of a potential problem with IDEM, okay? It's not that we're gonna do it 2 and 3 times. We gotta have a short-term fix. No matter if we didn't do this study or not, we still need a short-term fix. Am I
Billy,
wrong?
what was your proposed short-term fix in, say we're doing the full lift consolidation project, what's the short-term?
That's what they're gonna try.
What are
to
your
solve.
thoughts? I mean, what were,
I don't have a short-term fix.
Right.
uh, Other than what we're doing now, and that's the discharge.
Exactly, that's the only way to.
That's not the right way to do it.
no.
Correct.
no.
So I think that, yeah, so I think this is, I don't look at this as a bad thing.
And just to follow up, we don't necessarily know specifically what the short-term fixes are. That's the purpose of the analysis. We may find through the flow monitoring, oh my, this main down this one particular street has a lot of inflow. If we were to just line this one main, we can save ourselves a lot of heartburn.
And what we can do on our end, as you're running parallel with you guys, we can go to IDEM, I think, and help buy us some time as far as being penalized and things like that. We are gonna still have to do the discharge, which is not best, but until they figure out what that is, I mean, I think we can mitigate, bring in any potential problems to us, if that makes sense.
And if I may, I think if you decide to go to IDEM, taking the course of the action of having the study done in progress and then eventually having that document to interact with IDEM would, I think, be a good, proactive tool in your arsenal to deal with the problem.
Yeah, because we've been in their office 3 or 4 times, and but it's always been proactively.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're right.
Know what you're talking about.
They like that. Okay. Anything else to share on this particular?
Well, I've got a couple videos just to kind of give you some better understanding of
Thank you, guys.
what we're dealing with. So this is a video, and actually
Where's the popcorn?
Garrett has the files. They're on a CD, which I don't even have a CD.
Is there a rating on these?
But this is with the camera. And as you go through here, you can see the cracks. You see all these cracks? This is
My wife
the
would love
10-inch
that.
main on Bilby.
I used to do this.
These were all cracks.
Hughes camera. Yep.
Multiple ways.
Yep.
How'd you get in that pipe?
Looks like somebody's in a boat.
Yeah,
That was a dig, wasn't it?
yeah, I'm telling you. I'm too big to get inside that pipe.
2008.
2008.
Well, this one's lined now, so it's fixed. Yeah.
I was gonna ask that, what you said. it was-
And that is probably quarter flow of that 10-inch pipe right there,
Yes, yes,
Big angle, but it looks like.
which is now 9 or less.
correct.
Yeah, what he's showing there is it's already showing signs of collapse right there because of the crack. Once it collapses, you have to dig it up and fix it.
He didn't know how long they were gonna hold up or until they collapsed.
Now, have you guys got the, scope going through there, the camera? Or is that
Yeah,
something rented?
that's what this
That's
is.
the ladder right there.
But nobody's done one
Laying over
lately?
there. It
No.
was running on the dirt.
That's all that was?
It ate through the bottom of the pipe.
And
That's just one section. I got hours and hours and hours. You more than
Let's
welcome.
see.
But we got, yeah, that's just one little section.
A little section of the casket, that's what they had. Yeah. With clay back there. So you think that's blacktop? That's what it looks like to me.
So there's a separation or something in the pipe and it all built up there or something?
Well, I think
Or
blacktop,
just
there was
him
a hole,
eye and eye?
right, and some blacktop or whatever got in there and it all got flowed to a low
Oh,
point.
I'm with you. Yeah, is there anything above that?
Almost looks like a vein got plaque in it.
yeah, what this camera does, it has the ability to rotate the camera, and that's what it's doing here.
How many linear foot was that whole line, that 10-inch line? How long was it?
I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'd find out pretty easy.
Yeah, I just wondered. I mean, it's a long run.
Right. It goes all the way from 655 to right there by the hospital.
Garrett, have you guys tried to run a camera back up through there lately, or?
We haven't run a camera up there lately. They did camera right after it was lined on certain sections, but I don't know where that footage is. I mean, I can keep looking over there. Actually, I just stumbled across that. That was in an old filing cabinet that was, and I happened to be looking for some stuff and then came across all that footage. There might be some of the.
That was in 2008, so, you know, it's 15 years older. So what I'm saying is that clay pipe that's in the ground, that's the kind of shape it's in. And, you know, that's the reason we are so aggressive about the lining project, because it's a matter, we looked at it and we said, okay, here's what we got to do. Do we want to do it over a 5-year program? I wouldn't want to extend it out over a 10-year program because, you know, just the pipe is in really bad shape. So that's really the purpose of the lining project, is to put a new line in there is basically what that'll do. It's replacing that existing clay line. It's just, that's the way they do it, is they put that line in there. Now, you're losing capacity of that line when you do that, but we don't think that's an issue on the side streets. It's definitely an issue on the main.
This was a liner, like a sock they pulled in.
Capacity's
And-
not as
yeah,
big
and
an
it's-
issue.
and then they blow it up.
What's it do, Billy, like, where they clay, like you're saying, it's laying there?
Right, so when it was done, this is actually like a
You
piece
put
of
that
plastic
liner in
pipe.
there?
Yeah.
I don't know what
It
it
takes
is.
all that out of
Yeah,
there?
this
So
is
what they
stuff.
do is they
See, they have other type of liner.
shut it off.
It's not as structural as what
clean
we
it,
had done up there.
And then they inject the PVC in
That's
there.
there, you can get it done cheaper.
I've seen that done. I
Like I
just
said, it's just,
Well,
it's not as good, it's not
say
as
you expand it
structural.
over 10 years, it would approximately 450,000
Yeah,
a year.
right.
Do you, would your depreciation cover that or not?
It's more, to do it that way, it's more impactful on the rate versus bonding it. So again, it's back to bond or rate, and we can do it either way, you know. It's more impactful on the rate if we cash flow it over a 10-year program versus bonding it upfront. Or at least that's what Crone told us Friday. But again, we can build that model, and then we can ask those questions. What would it look like here? That's really, what we need right now is what direction, we're at that point where, what direction do you want us to build the model? And then we can tweak it after that. So, you know, the thought process was to bond it, but if we don't want to bond it, we can show you, you know, we can build the model with cash flow.
Right, and my feeling on the lining project is it's more of a capital project than it is a maintenance project, because we need to put new lines in, and by lining the existing lines we have is a cheaper way of getting new lines in rather than digging them and actually putting new lines in. But it's, you know, to me it seems like it's more of a capital project because it has to be done one way or the other, and by lining them we can.
Well, if it's in your capital, then it's built into the rate,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
And it's through the depreciation fund is
Yeah.
how that all.
I think an interesting thing would be to figure out, okay, if, let's just, for instance, let's say that this consolidation project is $4.5 million. Let's say that in order to line the pipes you want to line, you're talking about $4 million, correct?
Yeah.
8.5 million, $9 million. Then you've got the sewer main, or the water main.
Yeah.
50.
Plus, we gotta rebuild all the lift stations. That's a big ticket too.
Yeah.
So there's $11 million just in the capital fund of the sewer alone. And I haven't added up the water, but I can do that real quick.
But if I'm following the mayor, if you can do the consolidation on the lift stations, that's 4.5. You do the lining, that's another 4.1. You almost really, are we looking at bonding $10 million for this, the whole project?
Yeah,
We can't Band-Aid the consolidation and figure out what we're gonna do later with the sewer mains.
Well, where I'm going with it too, is, let's say there's $10 million worth of projects that we think it has to be done, okay? Hypothetically, if, you're gonna have some cash available, where we really shouldn't. okay? Your depreciation, you should be paying for your projects going forward in the new rate.
Yeah.
If everybody following me. But if, say, you've got X number of millions of dollars. You subtract that off of the 10.
Right.
And then if, you know, I keep going back to the fiber money, but, I mean, that, to me, as a, and I would love to have it to be able to put back in MDF or whatever. That entire 3 million, I'm okay with sticking towards utility projects. That's me.
That's the biggest, it's the
their
biggest
deci-
need where we need
Their
it.
decisions, but I feel good about doing that, so we can minimize the amount of money that you would have to bond if you bond.
Now, I love that. Let me ask you a question. Now that you're being gracious with your money.
Not my money.
So, we have $11 million need for sewer and a $7 million need for water. Is there any other money that the city would?
No, we don't have it.
No.
I tried.
No, and no, but here's, listen, I think it's gonna come down to the rate study, okay?
Yeah.
When we find out that, okay, if we have to bond $5 million, let's just say 5 million is left that we have to bond, and we find that our rates are gonna go up too much, you know what? Then this group is gonna have to take a good hard look and say, okay, do we wanna take $3 million out of MDF and keep the rates from going that far up, or
Right, if they're gonna get crazy.
we will have to look at that. I'm
Yeah,
not
but
saying
that's-
it's gonna happen. I don't want anybody going out of here and saying it's gonna happen, because we don't know until we see the rate study and what it's
Good
gonna
point.
do to rates. That's where the scenarios are gonna come in and play, I think, Billy.
Yeah. And the nice thing about it is we have that resource to have that option to be able to do that. You know, imagine if we didn't have that resource available.
Well, there's a lot of communities right now, and I know that I'll be at a conference with all the mayors next week in Bloomington, and I've already got a group of mayors that we're talking about. They're concerned about their infrastructure, sewer, everything underground, right?
Yeah.
And there's gonna be a big discussion, there's gonna be a discussion about that. And nobody has an answer. I don't know there is an answer, you know, except bonding it out, and some of these municipalities have a hard time paying for back those bonds. So, yeah, we're fortunate, but I think that we're gonna have to look at the rate, when the first draft of the rate study comes back, I think you go back, and I think you're looking for an answer to, okay, what do I tell Crone about how much that we're gonna bond, okay, so they can figure out a bond payment
Yeah.
into the rate, right? So I would go at them with the full amount on one end. And you guys correct me if you wanna change this, but I would go at them with the full amount on one end and say, hey, figure the scenario with that.
What's worst case scenario?
Worst case scenario, what, you know, bonding $10 million, and what's that bond payment gonna do? What's that gonna do to our rates, right? And then I would go, and maybe they can do incremental, like, okay, what if we bond 10, what if we bond 5, what if we bond
And
nothing?
They told us Friday that they would build those models for us.
Yeah,
so that we
I
could
think
see
that's-
that.
yeah.
And then, like I said, within a month, we'll be ready to present that to the board. And
I mean, I think one of the scenarios you should have them do is bonding nothing. No
Yeah.
debt, no debt.
yeah.
And just see where the rates go.
Okay.
And I'm not a proponent of subsidizing utilities, because you've done a great job of putting utilities in its own entity, which
Correct.
it's supposed to.
Yes, they all have, yeah.
Done a great job, and
Yeah.
Not me.
Your
we-
departments
this-
have.
Yes, there you go. I like that. Thank you very
This
much.
has been a
Yeah.
collaborative effort. We're doing the
All
right
of us.
things. This
It's the
was
right
done a long
direction.
time ago.
Yep. Yep.
And,
Well, and your department's done a good job
Yep.
of understanding why we're doing this stuff. I mean, taking on the medical.
Who would ever
all that
thought?
other stuff. It's the right things to
Looking
do.
around this room,
I'll say one thing
especially
about it.
back there.
You don't want to be alone with it, because they're awful needy. If they get you by yourself, especially that in old Aaron. He likes to bend my ear.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Okay.
I'm just kidding with you, Gary.
I know.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's, when we left the work session, I had an uneasy feeling that you didn't understand the severity of what we're dealing with the sewer, but I think you understand that.
Do you feel better now?
I feel better about that.
You're gonna be able to go home tonight and just relax,
Uh,
the tractor.
Yeah,
What about, I would, personally, I would like to take some action on the study. How do you guys feel about doing that?
Yeah, because if not, we gotta wait till the next utility
Yeah.
board meeting, which is
Well,
not
I
till the
think-
first of the next month.
Get
So I
the-
would
Sooner is better
assume,
than-
I would assume get this
Are
rolling.
you guys in
We're gonna-
favor of that?
I'll say yes. I mean, as much as I hate to say to throw more money out there, but I don't know.
So we find out that we have a certain amount of excess flow coming in. We still have to do something with that excess
But,
flow, right?
and I get that, but the only thing I will tell you is maybe we can pinpoint those areas, and it may not be as bad as we think throughout, to where it may be certain areas, and then that will help there. Just my thoughts.
When would you guys be able to get started on this?
That's just my thoughts. Just one-
No,
We would be able to get started almost immediately, efforts upon myself to write the report. I would need to reach out to the flow monitoring group. I believe they had monitors available, so I think it could be a relatively quick moving effort.
the nice thing about having these guys do this study is they're so aware of our system
Right.
up on the hill because of everything they've done
Mhm.
with the lift station consolidation. They already know, how many engineers can come from Indianapolis and talk about Pribble and Keller and Scenic and, so they're very aware of the area up there. So that lessens the time frame. They understand the issues, so that will help them in the study.
I would entertain, if everybody's good with this, I would entertain a motion to move that direction, but how are we gonna know what that's gonna cost us is the only other drawback.
57,000,
57,000.
Yeah.
not to
Yeah,
exceed.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, that can be very revealing when, and hopefully it is very
Yeah.
revealing. It's gonna give us some ammunition toward, really solving this problem. So,
We'll have a better idea of what's really going on down there. What we have to really go ahead and get done.
I think it was 57,640, the exact number.
Oh, they'll write that 640.
Yeah.
All right, 5,700.
Okay, I think I'm hearing that everybody's, so I would entertain a motion to enter into an agreement with BFS for a number not to exceed $57,640 to study and bring back options with engineered estimates on what it would take to fix the overflow problem that we have up on Ludlow Hill.
is that the scope you guys were, that's the scope?
Does that sound
Does that match
like
the
the
scope?
scope,
you-
match the scope?
Yes.
Motion?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Second?
I'll second, Mayor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry. Okay, anything else right now?
One more thing to talk about.
I got,
I'm
I
wore
got,
out,
I
Billy.
got 5 minutes. I apologize. I gotta be on a 3:30 call.
While we have these guys, we have in front of you I sent you an email that has their proposal to do the utility location for the US 50 water project. And, Jeff, if you would, talk about, why we need this, what we're looking at, if you can kind of give them
Sure. So talking about the US 50 water main project, which is broken into two phases now. Phase one being from about the post office up to the entry road to the power plant, and then phase two being thereon off to approximately the wastewater treatment plant. We are in state right-of-way with the water main, and one of the principal challenges with the approach from a constructability standpoint is the amount of other utilities that have come through the corridor, crisscrossed and meandered in a horizontal way over and under and all over the place over the water main. Through the original design agreement, we initiated initial utility coordination, which involves contacting all the utilities and saying, hey, we're going to be digging and replacing a water main. If you have facilities in your area, let us know, as well as surveying the locates. What came back to us was a large number of utilities, including high-pressure gas mains, transmission fiber duct banks, sanitary sewers, force mains, and this has made it such that it is very difficult to construct. It may require easements, but also we are missing critical information of where some of these utilities are. We just don't know where some of the utilities are, either because they weren't located properly or it requires more investigative work, which is called subsurface utility exploration, which involves a vac truck going down, physically finding the utilities, getting an elevation on them, and providing that information back so it can be incorporated on the plans. So in short, we need more information to know where the utilities are, to know exactly what is constructible and what's not, and that will help guide the question of what easements we need to get in order to succeed in the project. Would you agree that's a fair approximation? So what Billy asked us to do is to reach out and get a proposed agreement for subsurface utility exploration, where a sub-consultant would go out and actively find the utilities and back down on them and spot them. We reached out to two sub-consultants. One is one we use often in the Indianapolis area, and another is a more local contractor, Televac, for pricing. And I put together a scope of where they would locate the utilities. I was very thorough in the scope to leave no stone unturned. If we're going to go out there and do this, let's do it and get all the information we possibly can get to find what utilities are out there. It came back total amount for that effort with a little bit of time for our utility coordination staff for a total of $67,000 to go forward and to pothole on both segments. Mason Private Locating, which was the first sub-consultant from Indianapolis area, provided a quote for this. Televac indicated that they would, but they had not yet, so the actual price may be less if that second quote were to come back cheaper than the Mesa Private Locating. But at this point, specifically on phase two, in my opinion, we can't move forward with design plans in a responsible manner and get a contractor on board without severe risk to the city of Lawrenceburg and Lawrenceburg municipal utilities, because you could take your best guess on what the alignment should be. You advertise it, you get a contractor, you get under a contract to go do it. They go out there and they find a whole mess of problems, and at that point, you're kind of locked in to the contract. So it's a proactive approach.
I mean, isn't there some liability that's involved with the locates in regards to the different utilities that are involved? I mean, in regards to having a clear locate, or
liability as in
USIC.
taking responsibility for providing the information. Always the liability of a contractor hitting a utility is always, I'd say, 100% on the contractor by law, and they have to have their own dig ticket. Now, I think it is prudent and wise to try to get as much info as you can to tell the contractor where to dig in the first place. We know for a fact that there are missing utilities, whether you can't locate them through general means, maybe a tracer wire broke or what have you, and other questionable information we have, that the only way to know is to go out and find it. And if the water main has to be replaced, I think it's a safer approach with less risk to do it separately from the actual construction project.
And this is a unanticipated cost, because when we went in, but normally you wouldn't have to do this because, there's just so many utilities going down through there that when we reviewed the plans, the design, I was not comfortable, with not knowing where these utilities are. And so the risk we have is we'll define a line, this is where we want, and a contractor's gonna come in and they're saying, you told us to put it there, we're putting it there. They start digging, they can't put it there, and it's gotta be relocated. Now we're a change order,
Yeah.
and we're at the mercy of the contractor. So, our thought was, let's do the due diligence up front to find out exactly where everything's at so that we can pick a defined line and be confident about it to alleviate the possibility of change orders on the back end.
And this doesn't eliminate the risk of that scenario happening, but it greatly reduces it.
In the area we're doing this too, there's 2 fiber lines. So those are very, very costly if we get into those or whatever on.
So we can bring this up in the next utility board meeting. I'm not asking for action today, but while they were here, I wanted you to hear, the reasoning.
No, thanks for explaining that. That is helpful.
Yeah.
And just being that big of a mess, if you
So it's a water line?
Yeah, this is
This one thing that I've spoken with Billy about, and I know I said this in a joking fashion, but I'm really starting to wonder if we really shouldn't run that down US 50.
Well,
I mean,
we evaluated that too. It's already been taken. There's 2 force mains from Aurora.
I know that, they're 8-inch.
Yeah.
One of them's abandoned.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
You mean down the suicide lane?
yeah, where they've added, when they widened 50, they covered Aurora's lines. And they actually covered our water line, from what I understand.
in section, section.
My saying is, and I know, I'm thinking out loud, we couldn't put that right down the middle of the outside lane of US 50 and save us all this money? I don't know. Just saying.
NDOT may have something to say. They would.
I get it, they probably do, but
Yeah.
man, it just hearing what you're saying, and I get it. I get what, like you said, the fiber and all the other things that unforeseen that's happened over the years down through there.
Oh, it's a mess. But
Yeah, it is a mess. It seems
to
like,
ride down one lane of 50, I would think would be just astronomically expensive.
I don't know, man.
If
I don't know.
NDOT would
I
let us do
jokingly
it.
have said that to
I mean,
Mr. Ken and I just, the
The
more you hear, you're just, yeah,
have to put it back the way for NDOT's rules.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would think.
And then to put Joe public because they were late for work.
I would think.
Yeah, so on, so.
Sure.
Okay,
You still have to sue probably anywhere you're gonna go.
All right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the other thing we're looking at on that water project, and we can't avoid it, there's some areas where we have to go down in the bottoms. And what'll happen is the same thing that's happened when the state came in and filled it.
Right,
There's a possibility if any of that is developed, they've got to build it up out of the floodplain. We've got our line in there, next thing you know, we're 14, 15
right.
deep in.
I got it.
There's no
Yeah.
way to avoid that. We talked about, well, can we do this? And we've looked at all kinds of scenarios to try to stay out of that, but there's some areas we just can't avoid that. Just because of so much stuff being up in the, that slope goes down so quick, you can't build on the slope. You gotta be down, and you can't go up top because there's too much stuff in the way up there. So it's a tough project.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Mark, you gonna make the motion for adjournment?
Lenny, can you do that real quick? Say, can I get a motion to
Can I
adjourn?
get a motion for adjournment?
I'll make that motion.
Tommy?
And I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
All in favor? Aye. I think we ought to hang around a while.
We're done.
Gee.
I really
How much
took-
they
I
listen to
really
me.
think